You didn't fail, you stopped yourself, and you did it on purpose. Think about the last time something was going really well. Not okay, not fine, actually well. The relationship that felt right, the work that was clicking, the period where you had energy, momentum, something close to genuine happiness. And then think about what happened next. For a lot of people, something happened next that shouldn't have happened. A fight that didn't need to happen. A decision that made no logical sense. A slowdown, a withdrawal, a quiet dismantling of the very thing that was working. And afterward, looking back, you couldn't fully explain it. You said you were scared. You said you got in your own way. You said you didn't know why. But there's a more precise answer, and it's one that most people never hear. Your brain didn't malfunction. It worked exactly as it was designed to work. It detected something it had learned to classify as dangerous, and it protected you from it. The dangerous thing was your own happiness. Every person alive has an internal thermostat, not for temperature, for well-being. It's a set point, a level of happiness, success, calm and safety that feels normal to you, that your nervous system has learned to expect and maintain, that your body has calibrated to over years, usually decades, of experience. And like a real thermostat, when the temperature strays too far from the set point, the system corrects. When things get too bad, too painful, too scary, too overwhelming, the thermostat kicks in and you find ways to cope. You reach out, you rest, you make changes. Most people understand this direction of regulation, we call it resilience. But the thermostat works in both directions. When things get too good, too happy, too successful, too calm, too far above what feels normal, the thermostat kicks in there too, and you find ways to correct back down, not consciously, not deliberately, but effectively. You start an argument, you make a reckless decision, you drink too much, you disappear from the relationship, you miss the deadline, you do the thing that brings everything back down to the level that feels familiar. This is self-sabotage, not a character flaw, not weakness, not stupidity, a thermostat doing exactly what thermostats do. So where did your set point get set? Not where you'd like it to be, not where you think it should be, where it actually is, right now, operating below the surface of every decision you make. The answer is early, usually very early, before you had the language or the awareness to notice it happening. Your nervous system learned what normal felt like from the environment you grew up in. If that environment was calm and safe and loving, your set point for well-being got calibrated somewhere relatively high. When things feel good, that feels normal, the thermostat lets it sit there, but if that environment was unpredictable, if love came with conditions attached, if safety was something that appeared and disappeared without warning, if happiness was regularly interrupted by chaos or loss or criticism or instability, then your nervous system learned something different. It learned that feeling good is temporary, that calm before the storm is just that, before the storm. That happiness is a vulnerability, not a destination. That the higher you feel, the further you have to fall. And so the set point got calibrated lower. Not because you chose that, but because your nervous system was doing its job, learning the rules of the world you were in and building a survival strategy around them. The problem is you're not in that world anymore. But the thermostat doesn't update automatically. It keeps running the old settings in the new life. And every time you get too close to thriving, it pulls the old lever. Come back down, this isn't safe. Self-sabotage is one of those things that looks completely different from the inside than it does from the outside. From the outside, it looks baffling. You watch someone talented consistently undermine themselves. You watch someone in a good relationship pick fights until it breaks. You watch someone on the edge of a real breakthrough suddenly go quiet, go missing, go back. From the inside, it feels completely rational. The fight felt necessary. The decision felt logical. The withdrawal felt like protecting yourself. The return to familiar ground felt like being realistic. That's what makes it so difficult to catch. It doesn't announce itself. It arrives wearing the clothes of reasonable behavior. In relationships, things are good. Genuinely good. And then something small happens. A misunderstanding. A moment of distance. Something that in a secure nervous system would register as minor. And you respond as if the whole thing is on the line. You escalate. You withdraw. You test. You look for evidence that it's going to fall apart and you find some. And you use it. Not because you want the relationship to end. Because part of you doesn't trust that it gets to stay good. In work, you've been building something. It's gaining traction. People are noticing. And then you miss something important. You show up unprepared to the meeting that mattered. You go quiet right at the moment when visibility would have helped you. You find a way to step back from the edge just as you are about to step over it into real recognition. In your own body, you get healthy. You feel strong. And then something in you finds a reason to stop. Not dramatically, just gradually. The habit erodes. The progress reverses. You're back where you started, in a body that feels more familiar because it feels more like home. In all of these cases, the sabotage doesn't feel like destruction. It feels like correction. It feels like coming back to something real. That's the thermostat. Working perfectly. There's a concept worth naming here. The upper limit. It's the invisible ceiling above which your nervous system won't let you stay. Above which the alarm starts going off. Above which you find ways, always convincing ways, to come back down. And the painful thing about an upper limit is that it's completely specific to you. Your ceiling might be somewhere another person would consider the floor. You might sabotage at a level of success that someone else would never even reach. There's no universal height above which self-sabotage kicks in. It kicks in at your limit, wherever your nervous system drew the line. One of the clearest signs of an upper limit being triggered is that the sabotage often happens at precisely the wrong moment. When things are best, when the momentum is strongest, when the opportunity is closest. Because that's when the alarm is loudest. That's when the gap between where you are and where your set point is has grown widest. That's when the system works hardest to correct. So the pattern is consistent. Things improve. The improvement continues. It reaches a point. And then something happens that brings it back down. It's not bad luck. It's not timing. It's a system doing what it was built to do. Underneath every upper limit are beliefs, usually old ones, usually ones we've never actually examined. They sound like this. I don't deserve this. Something bad is coming. It always does. If I'm too happy, I'll jinx it. People will expect more from me than I can give. I'll lose myself if things get too good. The people I love will feel left behind if I succeed. Success will change me in ways I can't control. These beliefs are almost never conscious. You don't sit down and think them deliberately. They operate in the background as assumptions about how the world works. Assumptions so old and so deep they feel like facts rather than beliefs. And they're almost never logical. But they don't need to be logical to be powerful. They need only to be believed. And they are believed completely by the part of your nervous system running the thermostat. The belief that you don't deserve good things doesn't come from evidence. It came from an experience, or more likely a series of experiences, that taught you something about your own worth. That teaching got embedded early enough that it became the operating system. And the operating system doesn't ask to be verified. It just runs. Here's where it gets particularly hard. After the sabotage happens, most people punish themselves for it. The fight that didn't need to happen. The opportunity that was squandered. The relationship that was damaged unnecessarily. You look at the wreckage and you feel ashamed. You criticize yourself. You reinforce the story that something is fundamentally wrong with you. And that punishment, that shame, that self-criticism, actually drives the next cycle. Because shame lowers your sense of worth. And when your sense of worth is lower, your upper limit gets lower. And when your upper limit is lower, the next good period triggers the alarm sooner. And the next sabotage comes earlier and harder. You were trying to protect yourself, then you punished yourself for protecting yourself. And the punishment made the protection more aggressive next time. This is the loop. And it is self-sustaining. The cruelest part is that the criticism sounds like self-awareness. Why do I keep doing this? What is wrong with me? I'm my own worst enemy. It sounds like honesty. It functions like injury. It is not a life sentence. The thermostat is not fixed. Set points shift. Upper limits move. The nervous system learns new information when you give it enough of it consistently enough over time. It is not a moral failing. Self-sabotage is not weakness. It is not stupidity. It is not a sign that you don't really want the things you say you want. It is a protective mechanism operating on outdated information. That's all. The mechanism is sophisticated. The information is old. It is not something you think your way out of. Understanding this intellectually is a beginning, but the thermostat doesn't live in the thinking brain. It lives in the nervous system, and the nervous system responds to experience, not to reasoning. You can't logic your way to a higher set point. You have to experience your way there. So what does that actually mean in practice? It starts with noticing, not fixing, not immediately intervening, just noticing. When things get good, when you feel the momentum, the happiness, the calm, start paying attention to what comes next. Not with anxiety, with curiosity. What does the alarm feel like? Where do you feel it in your body? What thoughts arrive? What impulses show up? This noticing creates a gap, a small one, between the trigger and the response, and in that gap is the beginning of choice. The second thing is learning to tolerate good. This sounds almost embarrassingly simple, but for people with low set points, staying in a good period without correcting it downward is genuinely uncomfortable. The nervous system is waiting for the other shoe. It's scanning for the threat. It feels more like suspense than happiness. Learning to tolerate good means practicing staying with the discomfort of things being okay, not fixing it, not escaping it, just sitting with the slightly unreal feeling of things going well and letting it continue. Every time you catch yourself about to make the unnecessary call, send the destabilizing message, make the self-defeating decision, pausing, feeling the discomfort, letting it be there without acting on it. Over time, the nervous system updates, not dramatically, not all at once, but gradually the new experience of staying in good periods without disaster accumulates, and the set point begins to shift. The third thing is getting curious about the beliefs, not arguing with them, not accepting them, getting curious about where they came from. When you notice the thought, "I don't deserve this," instead of fighting it or obeying it, ask where it came from. When did you first believe that? What taught you that? How old were you when that became true? Because the belief always came from somewhere. It was a conclusion drawn from an experience, often by a very young version of you trying to make sense of something confusing or painful. That young version did the best they could with what they had, but they were working with incomplete information about who you are and what you're worth. Seeing the belief as something that was learned, rather than something that is simply true, is the beginning of being able to loosen it. Here is the thing underneath all of this that is worth saying directly. You're not sabotaging yourself because you don't want good things. You're sabotaging yourself because some part of you learned, a long time ago, that good things don't stay. That happiness is a setup. That the safest place to live is just below the level where it really hurts to fall. That was a reasonable conclusion given what you knew, given what you experienced, given what the people around you modelled and what the world around you demonstrated. But it was a conclusion about then, not about now. The protection that served you once is costing you now. The ceiling that kept you safe when you were young is keeping you small when you don't need to be. And the work, the real work, the slow, uncomfortable, incremental work, is learning that you can stay up without the fall, that good periods are not previews of future pain, that you are allowed to occupy the level of happiness and success that your efforts have actually built. Not because someone gives you permission, not because the world finally becomes safe enough, but because you decide repeatedly, in small moments and large ones, to stop correcting yourself back down. You didn't fail, you stopped yourself. And now you know why. Not because you're broken, not because success isn't for you, not because some people are just wired differently and you drew the short straw, because a thermostat was running, set to a temperature that was calibrated a long time ago, in a room that no longer exists, for a version of you that no longer needs that particular protection. The set point can change, the ceiling can move. The upper limit is not a life sentence. It changes slowly, through noticing, through tolerating the discomfort of good, through getting curious about the beliefs instead of obeying them automatically, through choosing, over and over, to stay in the good period a little longer than feels comfortable. It changes through the accumulation of experiences that teach your nervous system something new, that you can handle this, that thriving is not a threat, that you are allowed to stay. Stop punishing yourself for protecting yourself. Start getting curious about what you are protecting yourself from, and then slowly, carefully, with a lot of patience for yourself in the process, start raising the ceiling. You built yourself up to this level once, you can build higher. The only thing stopping you now is a thermostat running old settings, and thermostats can be reset.